And then James Brown's how you get out of the game altogether. You just quit playing it. But I can show you a couple of just ways to fiddle with the game itself. But yeah, just you got to play it. Like it's literally that thing where you play it, and then all of a sudden, when you play it with someone who's never played it, you just literally destroy them. Because your understanding and your ability and your reason for moving is so much bigger, and your anxiety, you know why you're moving. And any position can be a leg position, as long as you're in that position, and you got a leg. If you got a leg, there's no game. But let me show you will you come break my leg, sir? The Achilles hold, of course, you can just straighten your leg. You can literally, because by the way, we've tried everything to break a leg. It's nearly impossible. So this is just pain compliant. So I just straighten it out, and that will stop this. But then it sets me up for him to turn and grab either this or my toes. And then the toes, when bent back, is what causes me to have a problem. So if I can get out or start blocking this before the toes get down here in that fixed position, then it's much easier for me to escape. So that's why I'm always saying, lock your hand. Get that lock down, because the second it's locked, I can't just run off and twist out anymore. So I'm always waiting for a guy who doesn't lock me so that I can go, nope, when he makes his push. So it's about timing. I know the position's bad. I feel what he's doing. I've already felt this Achilles hold hurt me, which is why I straighten my leg. So the next technique is for him to attack my toes. And I have a responsibility here, if I'm smart, to move before it gets locked down here. So just do the just the toes first. So this is the end of it. Lock your tricep out, nice on your side. We're gonna have you apply it without killing me. Yeah, and then go ahead. Oh, it's so good. And squeeze your knees a little more. Oh, okay, that's it right there. Damn, I'm old, man. That really hurt. Okay, so I know, because I know about the mechanic of it, when all of this is locked, I'm in a deeper position. I should get out before then. So position bad, yeah, I acknowledge that. He's making this hold. I should, as soon as he's making that press, get out. In the middle of making that press, get out. In the middle of him grabbing my toes, get out. So if I feel this and it's pressing, I'm going, nope, I'm too far in the game to get caught up in that stuff. And now that I'm in this position, I've exposed myself to the next hold. What do you got there, buddy? Oh, dead. But because I flipped myself around, put myself in sprinter's position, I got my heel on his butt, and I'm going this direction. So now I can take all this energy and I can slide it out and push out with my foot as well. So that's our end escape. This is what natural people do if they don't get caught in the middle of this game. They go, ah, oh, ah, and they end up running away. And your job is to stay on them through that process, because this is what everybody does. This is how you get out. You can delay some of this stuff, like if I get caught in the heel hold, I can, oh no, delay some of this stuff, point my foot, get rid of the heel. I can change the mechanics and structure if I get caught in a good position. Don't have to give up. I just have to know if it's all lined up and really clamped down, that I'm probably not going anywhere, because I'm done in this spot. But there was many spots before that, before we got there. If I could turn my heel down, if I could pull that thing up, if I could straighten my leg out. The problem with straightening my leg out is, oh no, it sets me up for this one. So the flow continues as long as you're the one in dominant position. And as long as you're the one throwing attacks. They're like punches. Boom, boom, boom. You just keep throwing until somebody runs away, or somebody tries to change position, or somebody comes and starts attacking you, and then you've got to deal with that. But if you're constantly blocking and attacking, when you play this game, then you'll always have a very high probability of winning. And especially in this low chance, in a 50-50 game, you got to be winning. So this is the one you really got to worry about, remember? This was the, snap a knee, blow a knee out. It's also hard to get out of because you've already crossed your own body. So it looks like this. Go ahead and lock it up on me. Yeah, just keep it on that side. Yeah. So if you were to lock this up, look at my poor skinny knee. It's literally just going to turn the end of it off like this. And with its body weight and the structure, this will blow my whole knee out. And so on these ones, you've got to go right into emergency mode and hook all the mechanics holding it and try to get your knee down. Because you can't roll with it. You're going to roll against your own structure. And there's nowhere to go. So because I can't turn heel and roll this way, which is the most comfortable way, I got to get this thing down. And so for me, I just grab the mechanics of it, and I stop the structure, and then I try to get my heel back down. I put my toe like a dancer, and I jam it back through, so it's not up. Because then if he really wants, he's got to go back to fishing it, and trying to turn the heel. Remember to turn the heel? Yeah, circle that bone around. So he's got to turn back to fish it, right? If he wants to keep it going. But now that he's fished it, oh, this whole thing has opened up more. So now I got a little more chance to turn this thing and protect myself. Also got another chance to throw a counter shot. Right? As long as I can hook the bone. Oh yeah? Bone hook. So legs are dangerous. But if you play the game and you work on all the mechanics of the game and have fun with it without killing your partners and hurting your knees, you'll get really, really good at it. And when you meet people, you'll just destroy them. Because they don't even know you're playing a game. They're still trying to leg locks, footholds, and other things like that. They don't know that that's their little step on. So, yeah. Okay, any questions about leg stuff? Now's the time. Got unlimited knowledge about breaking people's legs. If you're having trouble with a leg lock or a leg position or entering into leg positions, my favorite entry in mixed martial arts fighting is actually turning my back. That's besides standing above someone like this, which is the most dominating, manly thing you can do. I like turning my back and tricking people into giving me their legs, because then I don't do any work. So I actually just stick them right there. And so that's one of my favorite attacks. But it's a little bit of risk, a lot of athleticism, and there's a whole bunch of other risk factors. So, yes, sir.
Can you show us that?
But giving up your back?
The entry from.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it comes from a mat drill and a position that we call the dog, and so it's from this position. So in the Shamrock grappling style, there's a bunch of animals, because I studied the animals, and the dog position looks like this. It's all fours for wrestling, grappling, or otherwise. As soon as I put myself into this position, which is a sprinter stance, I become literally the strongest human that's down on the earth in its most structural, dynamic position to explode. And so I achieve this. I give my back and achieve this position in fights because I know that from here I can both sprint, set out, hip out, roll through, and make a series of angular attacks or momentum or energy attacks that'll completely disrupt anything that's going on with me. And so I like to get my back like this and then roll through and take the leg and put myself into leg position. It's in the sky. I guess it's lazy. I don't know. But there's a bit of risk. You gotta turn your back. You gotta be confident turning your back. The mat drill is literally this. I must have done it 10 bazillion times, but it looks like this. And we call it the monkey roll. But when you're doing it, yeah. See, when I started, all these names are Japanese names, and so I had Japanese teachers, and they would teach me in Japanese, and then they'd be like, and I'd go, man, I have no idea what you're talking about. And so I would go write them down, like shoulder lock. And so everything got really simple, and then that became my system, because I was like, I have no idea what anyone is talking about. And then I would travel the world and study with people, and I would share this knowledge, and they'd be like, what do you call this? And I'd go, in Japan it's called something. I call it the shoulder lock, and they'd be like, wow. They'd be like, it's so profound. And I'd be like, no, it's not. It's just a shoulder lock. So yeah, that's the beauty of it. And then, like when I fought Henderson, I mean, this guy was civil medalist. Like but because I felt how strong he was, I was like, oh, let's just swing, let's just roll. Let's roll into there. Let's go there. And it's that type of commitment where you're like, you're committing to a role, like you're committing to this thing happening, the game happening, and however you get into it, you're making that big commitment. So yeah, monkey roller is one of my favorites. Standing up is one of my favorites. I always want to do a cartwheel through the guard and go into a knee bar, but I never achieved that. But what about other stuff, like fighting stuff, competing stuff? I did, submission wrestling tournaments and trained a lot of people for it. I can say the thing that I think a lot popped into my head today, which I've forgotten because I'm older, it's really about the movement, right? And so especially the system I was brought up in, it's 10 positions, you move from one to the next, and along the way are all these submission holds. And that's the game. So it's like not working, not fun, go to the next one. Take a shot, like go over here, and then you go through the holds. And that doesn't work, go to the next one. And so that way the system was very simple. Well, here we are in this position. I know these 4 holds, let's flow through them, and then we'll go to the next ones. And that to me is what submission wrestling is, like this continuous flow of like energy. So when you meet someone and know stuff and it's fun, and that's where it gets even funner. Yeah. And like I said, I got to travel the entire world and wrestle with tens of thousands of people in all different styles at a time when nobody knew anything about fighting. I was the only knucklehead who was like top of the nerd list. So it was fascinating to just learn all these styles, study with people, go into their communities, like figure out how they're thinking, see how they think about combat, like see how they think about competition, nutrition, like all that stuff is part of competing. Because you're like a machine of competition when you're applying it or competing. So yeah, that's cool.
I have a question.
What else? Yes, sir.
So I have a couple.
Okay. Ask away.
So nutrition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a certain one that you follow? Like, do you measure macro stuff?
Nope.
Like, how do you determine when throughout the year? Say you have 2 fights in a year, right? You get your weeks busted out. Do you keep the same nutrition year round, or do you change it to camps? So does one go up or down?
Nope. Nothing ever changed.
Yeah.
I eat the same food all the time. I eat good food most of the time. That's my strategy. Don't diet, don't worry about it, don't think about it, don't count anything. But I eat good food most of the time. I also don't come to Hawaii very often because you guys do not get the good food most of the time. Then. You guys got lots of food all the time.
Yeah, not all the first night.
Bring your party, yeah. But it's just, I've done it so long. I was doing it for so long. My body was a machine. Like I turned into a machine. And so but conversely, if you think about it that way, what are you going to fuel your machine with? What are you putting in your car? How you want to run? How you want that to feel? If you put old gas in a car, it's going to have old. So you can feed your machine well. I eat the size of my hand whenever I'm hungry, and that's a couple times a day, 3-4 times a day, sometimes more. And then I come to Hawaii, I eat 3 of my hands on my buddy's hand for breakfast. But that keeps me in the same weight, so I never had to cut weight. I never had to worry about anything. I didn't go up, I didn't go down. Yeah, I didn't fluctuate. I didn't have extra fat. I didn't have, extra issues because it wasn't a thing. For me, it was fuel. And if you switch your mind and yeah, it tastes good. I don't eat desserts. Haven't had desserts in 25 years. Now I eat them and it's too sweet. It blows my face off. Like I can't stand it because I'm so unaccustomed to that level of sweetness. But I just don't want those extra calories. I'd rather have a beer or sleep in or something than try to expend that extra energy, to look a certain way, feel a certain way, or make a certain weight. And for me, I just need to keep as much weight as humanly possible because everybody else is bigger than me. It's tiny.
What about your hydration? How does that look?
You just drink water all the time. Yeah, one of our camp rules when you were in competition, you had to have water with you at all times. And if you didn't, you were getting wrestled down, beat up. You were playing King of the Hill, choke game, leg game. You were suffering because it is so important. It's all things, especially if you're getting punched in the head. Like if you don't have hydration on your brain, that's how they're getting brain damage. Right. It's bad enough. By the way, every time you bump your head, you damage your head. It's like a computer. It's like an iPhone. You can go banging your iPhone on shit. So it's the same with your head. You never want to bang your head. Ever. You never want to get hit in the head. Like it's just, it's not good. And just science will come out because it's just, I've seen my generation and the generation before me completely deteriorate because they're like, what are you talking about? You don't worry about that stuff, it doesn't hurt. I'm like, I don't know. That force goes somewhere, the impact goes somewhere. So yeah, it's a machine. If you think about it like that, you know.
What about your maintenance? Like, how do you maintain yourself? Like, when you were competing, what was your maintenance? Like,
For
recovery stuff? For your body.
Body?
Yeah.
Well, I worked out, 3-4 hours a day. That's all I did.
Okay.
So,
Total? Or passive?
like total time, yeah. But then there's, 2 hours of preparation, stretching, and warm-ups. And so I was doing like 4, 5, 6 hours of training each day. It was like my job.
Right.
And then you eat 4 or 5 times a day, chiropractic stretching. I learned massage, I learned chiropractic, I learned basic medical. I can set broken bones. I can super glue things shut. So I learned all that stuff as part of my learning in Japan. Yeah. But yeah, you just, it's a hard lifestyle to imagine, but your entire life becomes training, working, performing, traveling, training, working, performing, traveling, and then you just get used to it after a while.
How do you balance injury? Like,
Yeah.
do you baby it? Do you still, like, especially if you're training for a fight, you damage your knee, are you completely done for a certain amount of time? Or like, how do you, how do you work through an injury and heal an injury without completely stopping?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, for me, it just depended on what was at stake. So when I was younger, I was on a Japanese contract, and so you had to perform whether you were hurt or not. So if you were hurt, they'd help you out. They'd give you the old guy with the bad knee, and then we try to balance the risk of you performing with an injury. And then when I got bigger and became a prize fighter, it's whatever I've negotiated I get if I win. And then, yeah, I would just pick and choose and be very careful about it because it's your life. Like, you're risking it. Like, it's a hard thing to.
Would you completely stop though? Like,
No.
let's say you blew your knee out.
No.
Would you like, see you guys in 6 months? Or...
No. I fought. I only missed one fight. I broke my leg. I kicked the guy in his elbow and I broke my leg. And so I missed one fight. It's the only fight I ever missed. But no, I fought Phil Baroni. I tore all my tendons. I tore all the knee tendons out of my left knee about 3 weeks before my fight. And then I was in an electric wheelchair. Like, I couldn't stand up. I couldn't move. It was so painful because I tore all the tendons out of my knee. But I had gotten disqualified against Renzo Gracie the fight before on Showtime. And so, so my good guy image was kind of suffering. And then I was trying to do a deal with CBS, and they were like, "Hey, you're not like the good guy anymore." And I was like, "What do you mean?" Because I got disqualified. And so I fought this guy anyways after I blew my knee out. But normally I would never do something like that. Normally I would only perform to my ability with the injury or negotiate, to that. So if I was really hurt, I wouldn't compete. But my coaches was like, "Are you hurt or are you injured?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you're injured, you gotta go see the doctor or whoever. He's gotta fix you up. But other than that, you just hurt. So yeah, so I developed that mentality, right? Yeah. That's a good question, though. Yeah, that's a good question. All right, what else?
I go on.
Yeah, go.
So I know you had like a really big gas tank when you were fighting.
Yeah.
Did you feel like your gas tank for fighting was built mostly just grappling and actually like sparring and stuff, or did you seek like cardio outside of there in order to build your gas tank?
Yeah, I did both.
Okay.
So first, I grew up in the country. I didn't know there was a thing called vascular training or vascular threshold. So I didn't know any of this stuff existed. VO2 max, like I didn't know this stuff. I went to prison. I didn't know this stuff went on. And then so when I became an athlete, it was just a slow drip of education. And then so when I was very close to becoming a world champion, I met a guy, Maurice Smith, and he's like, "Man, you got to work on your cardio." And I was like, "What's that?" And so he opened up my mind to this other level of training. And then I had already had this massive gas tank, but my gas tank came from the flow, came from this stuff, playing games, breathing, being in a position where it didn't take my body the same amount of energy. And then also being in a knowledge position where, yeah, we get in the leg game, but you don't know the game. And you're freaking out, wasting all this energy. While I'm just going, ha 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 ha, and playing. And so I started consuming and learning so much about the human body and how it interacts. That was easy. It was easy for me to streamline these techniques and to find the stuff that was most important. And everyone else is still freaked out. So I could take people into positions where I knew was a huge extension of their energy, and they would waste themselves out. Like when I fought Tito Ortiz, I was going to get him in that crazy flying turn your back armbar, and it didn't work out. So I was like, all right, he's going to peter out in like 20 minutes. Time. We worked through this. When you see the guy's a giant, he's like 6'2", he's like 230. Like he's a monster. Compared he's the next size human compared to me. And I was like, dude, I'm either gonna get him with this one or I'm gonna wear him out. Just drive him into the ground until he freaks out.
Did you want that one, like hammer fist to the head? Like
I
grab it on your leg
and I got him with this. The best part is I was still teaching at the time when I came in, and I'm like Mr. Science, like none of that stuff. It's not science. Don't bring it to me. Do your research before you come in. And when I came in that night, or the first time I taught, all my students are lined up and they're doing this technique. And I'm like, oh, you guys are so wrong. But I can't say about fighting and competing is to say everything works, but nothing works for long. Because competition will figure it out. Somebody will figure it out. Somebody's going to study. Somebody's going to be like, wait a minute, I like that. And then somebody's going to keep the thing going. So everything will work. I've seen the craziest thing happen, the craziest fighting things happen. Like one time we were in Texas, and this this kung fu guy was fighting this karate grappling guy, I don't know. But this guy got just destroyed, murdered. He was just bleeding everywhere, and the crowd was like, oh my God. And then he came out, and he's just like this crumpled. And right out of the Karate Kid, he jumps up, does a spinning heel kick, and knocks this dude out after getting murdered for 3. And the place just went insane. I'd have bet $10 million that guy was not going to win. I was like, nope, put it all on this dude. So if you just keep fighting, if you just keep trying stuff, and the same with life, it's the same with everything, but especially with this stuff, if you just keep going, oh, wait a minute, yeah, let me try this, and let me borrow your leg, hey, let's try this, let's try that. Your ability to learn, your ability to evolve and get good at this stuff and other stuff is so, is so good. I credit that to the martial arts thinking. Martial arts mindset, right? How do you solve a problem without dying? And that's the end of the study. Okay, more questions. Can we have any more questions?
Out of all your fights, who was the toughest one and why?
Ensign Inoue almost got me. Yeah, Ensign Inoue almost got me, yeah.
Why was that the toughest? Just because?
I think it was the first time where, I had, because I fought, my first MMA fight I lost, actually. I fought John Lover. I got my ass kicked. Yeah, because I didn't want to. I was still in this weird, I had a really troubling childhood, and I was still really hurt from my childhood, and I didn't know that I didn't want to hurt people. I thought, I want to be a sports athlete, but I'm not going to actually hurt people. And then I didn't jive because I was a professional fighter. It didn't really work out. I had a psychological, emotional issue with it. So after I lost that fight, I was like, oh, I'm just going to kill everybody. And I made this conscious decision where I sat down with myself and the things that were important to me. And I was like, what's important? I'm going on this journey, being a champion, believing in this thing, doing the thing, And I was like, but I'm not really doing the thing. I'm fighting and I don't want to hurt people. And this dude just beat me up for 30 minutes because I wouldn't break his leg. And I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. And I lost $10,000. This is terrible. This is terrible life direction. So I made up my mind. I was like, okay, I'm gonna use all my skills. I'm gonna go in 100, And then if someone kills me, someone kills me. And I bought $1 million worth of life insurance to protect my family. And then I was like, let's do this. And so it wasn't until I got to Ensign that somebody actually tested it. And Ensign almost got me. Yeah, he knocked me across the ring. He mounted on my head. 9 minutes in, elbowing my head in. I was like, oh man, he's literally going to kill me. And I was like, darn it. Because I've been in the streets, I've been in prison. I've been in prison fights. And you fight for your life, or you die. That's how it works. And so I was like, oh man, it's happening. And then I was like, no, wait a minute. And I just changed my mind. I was like, no way he's going. There's no way. After the stuff I've been through and what I believe in, this journey I'm on, I'm like, it's not going to happen. And that's when I just turned my mind like that. I'm not going to let it happen. I got up and knocked him out. Yeah. But that's where, and I talk about it all the time when I'm coaching and teaching and stuff. It's like, you can change your mind in a second. Like, you can be like, I'm good. I think I'm going to do something different now. Or, hey, you know what? Let's look at that and make up our minds about it. And I made up my mind. But when I did the same thing when I was in prison as a young man, because I'd gotten all this trouble. I left home when I was 12 years old, and then I went to foster care and youth care, and boys ranches, and I ended up in youth prison. Then I ended up in adult prison. But it wasn't until I was in adult prison, and I saw one of my friends like this, walking around the prison yard. He's like, "Hey, bro," and I go, "Oh my God, it's so and so." And all of a sudden, I realized, I was like, "Whoa." Just like this dude. And I was like, that's not the thing I want. Like, that's not the dream. That's not the life I was in. Like, that's not what I wanted to do. And then I couldn't figure out a way to get out. I was stuck in prison. But I made up my mind. I was like, I don't care what I have to do. Like, I'll do anything. I'll fight a cage. I'll go to Japan. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll figure it out so I can, like, not be in jail. And so for me, this whole journey, it started from a really tough place. But it's led me all over the world, to some of the greatest things ever, hanging out with some of the most amazing people ever, meeting like amazing communities and learning things that, are really valuable. So it's been amazing, man. In fact, but I made up my mind. I was like, yeah, this crime thing's not working out, bro. I was like, one, I'm not good at it. And two, they keep putting me in this place. I'm like, no. Yeah, so, yeah. But you can change your mind and do anything. Literally anything. It doesn't matter what you thought before. You can just switch it up. Yeah, it's a trip. And now that you guys know the leg game, I feel sorry for all the other people that you come across and you're just like, hey, how's it going? You heard the leg game, no? All right, let's play around. All right, any other questions? I do know important stuff about other stuff.